What's up, everybody? It's your boy Duo back here with another video. Today we're going to be going over the Campfire chat that they had today that's going over Season 6 and the expansion, the Vessel of Patriot expansion. And let me just say there is a lot to get into, so without further ado, we're just going to jump right into it. So starting right off the bat, and I have a list of notes here, and I'm going to just throw all the notes in the description, so if you want to go and read these for yourself, it's just really mostly just taken from the slides that they put and just condensed down into a more human readable format, and then cutting out all the fat, if you will. So getting started right away, monster density increase and skill starting at torment 1, and you can now access penitent difficulty starting at level 1. Non-ancestral legendaries can reach rank 8 with masterworking. Previously, they were you can only reach level 4, and they've also made it so that you can temper them twice now. Before you can only temper them once. Now you can temper them twice. The Scroll of Restoration was added to final 2 stages of the season journey. Torment difficulty has been shifted, and it's matched penitent to Torment 1, and now Torment 4 should be a lot harder. So really, the idea here is that they want Torment 4 to be really tough, top tier end game content, like for the streamers to push their builds. The average dad is not going to be able to reach this difficulty. Myself included may not be able to reach this difficulty. Not that I'm, a god tier gamer or anything. I mean, I am, but that's besides the point. But anyway, your main stat damage is reverted back to the way it was in season 5. So for season 6, they actually had it so that your main stat was doing a lot more damage, but they've since changed this, I guess, for some reason. I guess maybe people were just too strong in the PTR. I'm not really sure. I didn't really get to experience that myself, so I can't really speak too much on that. But for whatever the reason is, they reverted that back. Legendary glyphs have additive damage and multiplicative damage significantly reduced, and that was some feedback that some of the content creators provided, that all they're seeing is additive and multiplicative damage, and they were just going to tier 4 and just dominating it, and they felt like Penitent and some of the later difficulties were too easy to accomplish, and there's some argument to be made there, but I digress. Let's just continue on through the notes here. Rare and magic nodes in Paragon board are more useful and powerful, which is really good. Excuse me. Normal nodes support legendary glyphs, and they support legendary glyph radius upgrades. Updated nodes across the board, so they made a bunch of changes to all of Paragon. So there is one thing to note here, that they didn't address the elephant in the room, which is people being locked to 5 boards, and they didn't say. Unless I missed it, again, I didn't get to watch the entire stream, but these are just the cliff notes I took from the slides. So if they set it off and it's not on the slides, then I apologize. But they haven't brought up the board lock, so I'd be curious to see how that gets handled in the future, or if it even gets dealt with in the future. Who knows? They doubled all additive bonuses on rare and magic nodes, so this is kind of interesting. So where they added damage, they sort of, previously they removed, and they've added it into other spots. So instead of it being your main stat, it's now being reflected across Paragon nodes. So that's interesting. We'll see how that ends up panning out. And they increased damage reduction values by 1.5%, or multiplicative 1.5, I should say. Moving on to Infernal Hordes. Keys are now dropped from certain activities, and the council boss will always drop Infernal Hordes, unique items, dungeon boss loot, and they'll scale with difficulty. And so what this means is, basically, if you played Season 5, keys were dropping like hotcakes. They were dropping from everywhere. You had so many. You could craft them. You were getting them from, literally, they were just raining from the sky, and that is hopefully no longer going to be the case. With that being said, Season 4. But with that being said, there was some major tweaks that they made to the reward system in the chest updates. The chests of greater equipment now cost 200 Aether, which is a massive difference from before. And chests of mats now just converts all your remaining Aether. And I believe before that it used to just be gold, but now it's the materials. So you can't just sit there and spam the materials chest and just get a bunch of stuff to masterwork. It's not going to be that easy anymore. So now we'll move on to rewards. They made a bunch of adjustments here. So ancestral drop rates increased from Nightmare Dungeons and Whispers. Nightmare Dungeons now provide EXP on completion. There's been some miscellaneous buffs to loot with Hellborn, Butcher, World Boss, and Goblins, which is really good. Stronghold EXP has been adjusted first time from 2 levels to 1.225 levels. There was an exploit that Raxantorax found where you could just do a stronghold, join someone's party, and then you leave their party, or they make you a leader, you leave their party, and then you gain the experience by turning in the stronghold, and you would just rinse and repeat this over and over and level up. You can't do that anymore. They fixed that, so which is good. That's a huge exploit. Non-legendary items auto salvage starting at torment level, which is really awesome. Saves a lot of space in your inventory. Paragon glyphs can now drop from the pit. That's good. So now we move on to itemization and crafting. There's some massive changes here that I really like. I mean, it's just going to make blasting the game a lot faster. So for me personally, I like these changes. And it really just feels like they want you to be a god at this game. Like they're just making, I mean, at least on paper, it seems like they're going to make things a lot easier to become a god and just dominate the game. Faster, easier, stronger, and feel good. Fine with me. That works for me. I'm not a streamer. I don't get to do that. So I'm happy for these changes, is my point. So without further ado, itemization and crafting. Resplendant sparks. You can only craft these at the blacksmith. I thought this was already a thing, but I guess they're just reiterating this here. 2 sparks now get you a random usable ancestral mythic unique. So before you needed 4 and you didn't have the option to make a random one, you just picked one that you wanted. And I think that is still the case here. These are just added things that they're adding to the game for the rescinded sparks. So because there was a lot of people that would either get 2 or 3, and they would just sit there like, hey, well, I need to go kill Lilith, but I'm too scared, or I'm not strong enough, and I don't get to enjoy the rest of my sparks like everybody else because I only have 3 and not 4. So this is their response to that, really. So now 2 sparks can get you a random usable ancestral mythic unique. Resplendent plus runes. You can craft with, I guess in combination, you do that kind of crafting at the jeweler. 2 sparks plus a set of runes creates a specific ancestral unique, which is very interesting. And then large amounts of common salvage can be used to form a random legendary at the blacksmith. And also with that, there's a chance for you to get a unique or a mythic, which is huge. I mean, they always say this, but I feel like it's like a very, very low chance, but I could be wrong here. Maybe they buffed that up. They didn't say here in the notes. So sockets can now be added to gear with general salvage material, and scattered prisms are required for ancestral items. The way that it's worded here is kind of weird. This is literally taken from one of their slides, but I'm pretty sure what this means is that if you want to use a scattered prism, it can only be used on an ancestral item. Now, I guess that makes sense. The jeweler no longer requires a level requirement, and that's good to know, because when I was testing runes during the PTR, I believe you had to be like level 25 or something weird like that. It didn't make any sense, so you couldn't really play around the runes until you level up your character. So that's good that they got rid of that. So we're going to move on to class changes here, and they actually did go over a bunch of class changes. I did not write these down. It's just a lot of information, and I'll be completely honest with you and transparent. I am not equipped to go over these changes and explain them in a way that makes sense and is digestible. So if you want to go do that, I would highly recommend you either go watch, either Woody Joe or Raxantorax or even Rob to go over these changes, because I'm not equipped to do so. So for that reason, I will say go read the patch notes if you want to go see those. But I will list off. They made changes to all the classes. Druid, Barb, Necro, Rogue, Sorcerer. The only one they didn't mention here because it's an implicit is that the Spiritborn, right? So they made a bunch of changes to those, and so yeah, we're gonna move on to Runewords. So going forward, all runes will now be competitive and have the potential to have a home in a build. The reason for this is because they found that people in the PTR were just going for the legendary runes, and that was it. Like they didn't the magic or rare runes weren't really worth it, and so they didn't like this, so they scrapped this idea. In fact, they got rid of a bunch of runes that they felt like just didn't give the potential they were looking for the game. So all the runes will now be way more competitive and way more hopefully fun to use at this point in time. So that's very exciting. I'll be very curious to see how that works out. Now we're going to move on to the actual Season 6 mechanic, the Season of Hatred overview. So right off the bat, and they may have said this more on the stream, gone into the details of this, but I just wrote down what they wrote on the slide, so apologies if I missed some things here. But they said there's going to be more skill points, new skills, more Paragon, new legendary glyphs, new legendary items, new legendary uniques, new legendary mythic uniques. They're going to have builds in the game that are completely going to push the boundaries of the game, break the ceiling, and they're gonna have new difficulty levels to match the ceiling breaking builds. So I'm very excited to see. They're basically teasing the streamers like, hey, please go and break our game. So that's essentially what this is for. Very excited. I'm sure the streamers will blast and knock it out of the park. I have no doubt in my mind that this is what will happen. All right. So we are about 50% done. Are you ready? We're not done. We're not even close to done. But yeah, I'm trying to get through this. Hopefully, I've gone through this in a more digestible way than you having to watch the entire stream. So hopefully this has been helpful. So let's go on here. Let me just pull up my notes here. So moving on, they've got a new zone event that's added to the expansion, and they didn't mention if this is a permanent mechanic or just part of the season, or if it's part of the. I think it's part of the season. It would make sense for it to be part of the season, and it's called Hatred Rising. And what this does is it cycles between the regions, so pretty much just like Helltide, and areas will be corrupted by the hatred, and monsters will come out and ambush you coming from portals. And as this is happening, a Realmwalker is burrowed underneath the region that is selected, covered in hatred, and will spawn. And it almost looks like a giant, like a turtle monster thing. He's got like a giant portal on his back, and he's walking around. You do the event, and it's a social event, which means that people can run up, much like season 2 if you played that season, or if you just do Helltide in general, you understand what that means. People just run up and you do the event, and then eventually what'll happen is the Realmwalker will be on its own, and then you can fight the Realmwalker and eventually defeat the Realmwalker. And once you defeat him, the giant portal on his back lands on the ground, and you can now enter the portal. So more about the Realmwalkers. They're basically harbingers of Mephisto, and like I said earlier, they're just giant portal turtles. It's pretty cool. They're pretty cool though. They look really cool. Carries a portal to the realm of hatred. They spawn monsters, including Hollows, which is a new enemy from the expansion pack. After you kill the Realmwalker, you walk into his portal. New dungeon art from this is where it gets interesting. So they add like a new dungeon, and it's new art from the X pack. So this is definitely confirms that this event is tied to the expansion pack. So if you don't have the expansion pack, you cannot participate in this event. At least that's my assumption here based on what they said in the notes. I apologize. There's like a fly floating around the room, so it's really bothering me. So more hatred infused mobs and goblins. Random bonus rooms, and Realm Gate presents a choice of rewards. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but I'm very excited to see how that pans out. So when you're fighting the Realmwalkers, they're going to drop these things called Seething Opals. And basically what these opals do is they just kind of grant you some really cool bonuses. So basically, whenever you see this event going on, you're going to want to farm the crap out of this event. At least that's how I'm perceiving this, right? So you'll get these things, and they could do a number of things for you, like provide a 50% EXP bonus. They could give you reputation with these Zakarum Remnants, which we'll get to in just a second. They can drop boss summoning items, Infernal compasses, gem fragments, and runes. So just literally a whole goodie bags of stuff that you're going to be doing without the game that'll help you progress and get stronger. So this is something that anytime this event happens, you're going to want to farm it. And based on the gameplay that they showcased in the Campfire chat, it looks like a ton of fun, and I'm very excited to go farm this event. And I love these social events they did. I love it when they did this for season 2. They've buffed Helltide. They understood that feedback that people really liked the Blood Tide or whatever you want to call that from season 2. And the people just running around teaming up together. Hey, it's a random stranger. Let's kill a bunch of mobs together. Get a bunch of reigning legendaries on the ground, and they've done that with Helltide, and now they're doing that again with this essentially. But now they're going to give you Seething Opals. So it's not one-to-one, but it's that same dopamine hit of, hey, let me kill a bunch of shit and pick up a bunch of shit and get cool stuff from it. So really, really fun, really, really exciting. I can't wait to blast this content. This might be my favorite thing in the game outside of, Undercity and Dark Citadel. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, this is going to be my favorite thing to do. So moving on, we're talking about the Zakarum Remnants, as I mentioned previously. They are the Holy Order in Hawazar. They were decimated by the Mephisto corruption, and they're the ones that introduce you into the seasonal quest line. So once you beat the campaign, if you've already beat the campaign, then you just jump right in, talk to these dudes, and you'll start the seasonal quest line. And just like previous seasons, these are the people that you'll talk to gain. As you're playing the game, you kill monsters, you gain reputation. this is probably where you'll go to collect like a reward. And they've done this for every season since season 4, basically season 4, season 5. And now they're taking the same mechanic and putting it into season 6. So as you're playing the game, pretty much killing monsters, you go and you talk to these dudes to give you rewards, and then you go back and the rinse and repeat, right? Just keep doing that over and over. They added a bunch of Spiritborn unique items into the game. This should come to no surprise to anybody, no shock at all that they did this. Very cool stuff. I didn't go into details. This is another section where if you want to go check out the specifics of the items for the Spiritborn, you definitely want to go check out the patch notes for that. So I'll put a link in the description to the patch notes if you want to go check that out yourself. It's also on the Blizzard website. So there you go. Undercity Overview. So, to talk about the Undercity, and the Undercity, I cannot talk today. The Undercity Overview is an intense multi-floor time attack dungeon. There's going to be things that you can do to kind of change the mechanics of the Undercity, of the actual dungeon. They said there's going to be 2 things that are part of this dungeon, and they're tributes and bargains. And so basically, the flow goes like this. You talk to the Spirit Brazier, which is what you'll talk to when you want to initiate an Undercity dungeon run, I guess you could call it. Then you could optionally apply a tribute, and then you could optionally apply a bargain, and then you'll start your district run. So the tributes basically define upgrades to your rewards, but as you're adding these tributes to your run, basically, it increases in difficulty. And then after that, you have your bargains, which further customizes your rewards, but they cost gold like the further you go. So you use the tributes to get better rewards, and then you use bargains to kind of change the dynamic of the rewards that you get, essentially. And as you do that, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. It's not going to be free, right? It makes sense. So once again, we're going to go over the flow. You're talking to Spirit Brazier, you potentially do your tribute, and then you potentially do your bargain, and then you do your run. It makes sense, and it looks fun. I can't wait to try this content. I'll be honest with you, I don't like timed content. It puts pressure on me to get it done. It's not a complaint. I'm not complaining at all. I'm just saying, me personally, I don't like timed content. So this might not be if I'm trying to farm something, I'll do this if I can get it done in a reasonable amount of time. But I don't like pressure play, so I would much prefer the things that I can go do on my own, which will be the killing the Realmwalkers. That's going to be my personal take. So anyway, moving on finally to them adding raids to the game is the Dark Citadel. So as you already know, there's going to be boss fights in the game. This is a team activity in Diablo 4, the first maybe of many in Diablo 4. It's content that they want. Basically, they want more players teaming up together. They added a group finder. They added a party finder. Thank God, it's about time. And so starting out, you can't just walk into this event. You have to get to Torment 1. So you have to play solo for a while, or not. You don't have to play solo, but you have to get your character strong enough, at least solo, to handle Torment 1, and then you can walk up and start doing this challenge. And then once you get to the Dark Citadel, you would need at least 2 people to run the content itself. So one thing they did mention is that there's going to be weekly rewards like incense, elixirs, and scrolls, and you'll definitely want to collect all 3 of these different items because they're gonna buff your experience in different ways throughout the entirety of the game. The scrolls of retempering is a big one, the elixirs and the incense. Again, if you want to see the details on those, definitely go read the patch notes. I'm not going to get into the specifics here, but there was some goodies in there. You'll definitely want to collect these. The Dark Citadel cosmetics, they kind of said they're separated into different tiers, and so by that I mean tier 1 through 3 will have their own set of cosmetics that you can unlock. So let's say if I complete it on tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3, then I only get this set of cosmetics. They're all tied together, 1 through 3. And then if you beat tier 4, you get a different set of cosmetics. And I'm not going to lie, they look damn good here, and I'm very excited to get these cosmetics. I'm hoping that I'll be good enough to do this. My character will be strong enough to actually get these cosmetics. So we'll see how that goes, but they look really good, and I'm very excited to go and try to unlock those. All right, moving on to Mercenaries. We've got Rahir, the shield bearer. I apologize if I butchered these names. Variana, the Berserker Crone, and he dual wields axes, or actually I think it might be a female, enlarge mace, heavy slam. Then you got Subo the Bounty Hunter, and he either does like a long bow attack or uses a crossbow. Then you got Aldkin the Forsaken Child, which is he can use fire magic and shadow damage. You can pick one of those, and then you can use these mercenaries as reinforcements. So like as you're playing the game, if you're in a party, they come they come at your aid in very niche moments of combat. So they're really good to have. They kind of seem like they're just gonna make you even more stronger. And I said this in previous videos, but this is gonna be the season of power. Like you're just gonna be a god. You're just gonna decimate this game. You're gonna be destroying and blasting and being really strong, really fast, really quickly, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. But anyway, moving on. Like I said, they can be used as reinforcements. They said here you're going to get the chance to choose what's called an opportunity and pair that with a skill. If you want to go learn more about this, there's the patch notes. Go check that out and read that. I didn't write down the specifics here for that reason. So moving on, we got bartering and rapport. So the bartering and rapport system is going to be tied to the mercenaries. The rapport system is basically just mercenary progression. You walk up to your mercenary in town, talk to them, and it's basically that same sort of rapport system or reputation system that like the Zakarum Remnants was that I previously brought up, and the same type of mechanic in previous seasons. You play the game, you kill monsters. This will eventually scale up and level up as you go, and then as you're doing this, you'll want to use bartering to get some good items. There's like a vendor that you get, and you can barter with him to get some legendary items. And the increased potential to get better items happens every time you upgrade your rapport with your mercenary. So you'll definitely want to max out the rapport with your mercenary as fast as possible so that you can get the best bartering loot table, I guess I should say, as you can. So you'll want to get that done as best as possible. Oh, okay, that was a lot. So that is basically the meat and potatoes of the entire expansion pack and the season. So last but not least, we got the QA. That a bunch of people asked a community questions, so I'm just gonna go through these really quickly. So they said that crossplay is still viable with or without the X-Pack. So you can still play with your friends, even if your friend doesn't have the X-Pack. You just obviously can't do, X-Pack content with your buddy if your buddy doesn't own the X-Pack. So that's I guess that's good to know. One thing that was interesting to note, and I think I saw Riker talking about this, is that the character Campfire screen was taken away in the PTR. And the response they gave was basically they just didn't have time to reinvent this, I guess, to include a Spiritborn animation. And so, or maybe they just didn't think people would care, but they did, and they wanted it back. Me personally, I was, impartial. I didn't really care, but apparently people really liked it, so they said that they're going to be adding the Campfire character selection screen back to the game. They said there's new statues and new renown in the game for you to unlock for Vessel of Hatred, but they said it's not tied to power and it's not tied to skill points. They said that the player doesn't... trying to get those statues and tying them to renown and skill points didn't really feel good, and it definitely didn't. It just felt tedious and gross, and nobody liked doing it. So they're not tying it to power, but if you want to collect all the statues, they're there for you to go collect. So that's interesting if you like that sort of thing. They kind of snuck this one in here. Adam said this, and he said that the gauntlet is officially being sunset, but leaderboards are not going away, but they haven't figured out where leaderboards are going to go. In my personal opinion, they should just throw this back into the pit. I don't know where else you would put this, but what do I know? But yeah, so I'm going to repeat that. The gauntlet is going away, but leaderboards are not. But yeah, as far as I can tell, this season they just won't be present, but they'll be back in a future season, most likely season 7. So that's good to know, I guess. Mercenary progression is account-wide and resets every season. So what this means is if you start a Barbarian and you level up, let's say you level up Altkin, and you get a max level, and then you say you want to start a Sorcerer, well, now your Sorcerer has a max level, max upgraded Altkin. So this is awesome. That means that this will encourage you to make alts. What they didn't say is that your season progression is account-wide, just your mercenary progression. So I'll be curious to know what decision they came to there. And why, if they didn't make seasonal progression account wide, why would they do it for one thing, a part of the season and X-Pack, but not the other? So that'd be interesting. I don't know what they did, but I'm curious to see how that ends up panning out. If they do separate it, that wouldn't make sense, but whatever. It is what it is, right? We'll see. So moving on, Realmwalkers is a social world event. We talked about this earlier. It's pretty much just like Helltide. You'll see it on the map. It'll be like this green area, and you'll go there and you'll fight the Realmwalker, and other people can run up and help you fight the Realmwalker and kill the mobs. Pit 100 is officially aspirational top tier content. I feel like they keep repeating this information, but they're saying this again. They really do not want you to get to this level. So this is going to be extremely hard. They think that only the tippy top streamers will be able to push their builds the highest of limits in this top tier content. But they've been proven wrong before, and I bet they'll be proven wrong again. But anyway, that's what they said here on the Q&A. They said that 80 should be the sweet spot for most people, and that's probably where I'll end up landing. So it makes sense to me. It doesn't affect me too much, right? If you beat the campaign once, you can jump into the X-Pack and the seasonal quest line right away. This goes for seasonal or eternal, so if you beat the campaign previously, you can just jump right into the season 6 and expansion pack. Makes sense to me. They said, wrapping up, that patch notes are available right now. So if you want to go read the patch notes, they are there for you on the Blizzard website. Feel free to go read them. I've brought this up multiple times to go read the patch notes because I can't provide all the information, but that's where they are. If you want to go see more details, that's where they are. And last but not least, when does the expansion start? Well, the expansion starts on October 8th, and that is next Tuesday. But I will say that you're able to preload the expansion pack starting on Monday. Actually, you can preload it now. You can preload it now. I misspoke there. You can preload it right now. So preload it right now, and you can play it on Tuesday. They didn't say what time, but if I had to guess, it'll be noon. Either noon PST, or it'll be 4 PST. We'll see. But either way, it'll be somewhere around that day. It'll be on October 8th. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Hopefully that, I gave the notes in a more digestible, human acceptable way here. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about everything that they're adding to the game? Wrapping up, my personal thoughts is this is a lot. This is a lot of content, and maybe I'm misspoken, but I was very excited to play PoE 2, but I think this is gonna keep my hands tied for a while. So, and I might make initial plan is to make 2 characters, but I might end up making 3 just for the heck of it, just because this looks like so much fun, and I'm very excited. But yeah. Anyway, I have a video talking about the builds that I found were the most interesting, that I'm excited about. So go ahead and click that video if you want to check that out. But yeah, if you made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. And if you have the time, feel free to like and subscribe if you like this type of content. And yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.